All right. Well, good morning, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants event. My name is Joe Grabowski, and I'll be your host for today. We are wrapping up a very busy week here at Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants. We've been celebrating World Ocean Week, so we've been talking to scientists, explorers, conservationists from all over the world about our blue planet. And today we're going to mix things up a little bit as we race towards the end of the week, and we're going to talk a little bit about the view from a little bit away from our planet. We've been doing a really exciting series all school year long with the Canadian Space Agency. We've talked to astronauts, but just as important, we've been talking to the engineers and the scientists behind the scenes who make so many of these amazing space missions possible, help us not only explore our solar system and beyond, but also turn the lens back and look at our planet. So today's event will be the last one for this school year, but it's going to be a pretty good one. We're going to spend a little time with Col Kutryk. He's an experimental test pilot with over 4,000 hours of flying experience on more than 40 aircraft types. So before joining the Canadian Space Agency, he flew as a developmental pilot for the Royal Canadian Air Force in Cold Lake, Alberta. He served as a CF-18 fighter pilot, being deployed in both Libya and Afghanistan. And then in 2017, he was selected as an astronaut candidate by CSA. He completed the 2-year Astronaut Candidate Training Program. And in 2023, he was assigned to a mission to the International Space Station, where he will live and work for approximately 6 months. So let's grab Joshua in here right now with us. He's backstage. Hey, Joshua, how are you?
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Bonjour à tous. And Joe, thank you for the intro. It's a pleasure to be here.
All right. Well, Joshua, it's great to have you hanging out here with us with this school year coming to an end. I know you're a busy guy, so we love stealing a little bit of your time. We've got a great group of classrooms. So there's classrooms joining us from across the country. Don't be shy to use that chat sidebar. Let us know where you're tuning in from. Send us in some questions. We'll play a little bit of Kahoot later. To our camera classrooms, we'll be visiting you after the presentation, and we'll bring you in for a little Q&A action. But Joshua, it would be awesome to get to know you a bit and spend some time learning about what led you to this incredible career.
Okay. Yeah, let's do it. I think, I'd love to do that. What we typically do is I'll talk folks for a little bit, maybe 15, 20 minutes. And then when we do give the mic back over to you, please don't be shy. Ask me anything about my career or some of the programs we have going, what we're doing at the Canadian Space Agency. We'll be happy to answer it all.
Perfect. All right. I've got your presentation queued up. We're ready to go.
All right. I see it. It looks like it's working, which is amazing. Doesn't always. Hey, first off, everyone who's listening, thank you for joining this call. I have to tell you, it's an honor and it's inspiring for me. I spend most of my time in the U.S. right now. I live in Houston. I work at Johnson Space Center. It's awesome for me when I get to come to Canada. I'm in Ottawa right now, but when I get to see people who are people like I used to be, and by that I mean young students in Canada, studying, enthusiastic, and looking forward to the future along with me. I enjoy doing it, and it's just really fun to have a few minutes to share with you today. I'm going to click through some photos, and then we'll go over to questions. Obviously, yes, I'm speaking to you this morning as an astronaut at the Canadian Space Agency, but it wasn't always like that. It's worth pointing out. I used to be a test pilot. I was a fighter pilot. I spent a lot of time in universities. I have a number of degrees in mechanical engineering, flight test engineering, aeronautical science. Before that, I was a high school student, and this is a photograph from that time. I grew up in eastern Alberta on a cattle farm, actually, and for some reason that nobody knows, I was very interested in flying, and that kind of was a very early passion for me. I became a pilot and then, of course, became all kinds of other pilots as my professional career went on, but you see that in the photo. This is what I was doing when I was selected by the Space Agency. I was doing test work on aircraft like this one, the F-18, for the Canadian government. And that was a perfect job for me. I think as a kid, I had passions for flying, like I told you, but I was also really curious. I love science, physics, engineering, and this job allowed me to combine all of that. So I was very fortunate. I got to fly the airplane, of course, a lot, but I also worked with the engineers and the scientists. I got to sort of play in both worlds, the operational world of employing the system, and then the academic engineering science world, where we design the system and the software and everything that goes into making a machine like that fly, which is actually kind of similar to what we do with this group today in our space program. So this is, of course, the current core of Canadian astronauts. I'm still kind of the new one. With Jenny, I was selected with Jenny in 2017. You see Jeremy here. We'll talk about him a little bit at the end. He's flying around the moon next year on the Artemis 2 mission. And then David Saint-Jacques, he came back a few years ago from a long duration mission in outer space. To be an astronaut, of course, takes a lot of work. You also have to go through a selection process. It takes about a year of testing and being analyzed, assessed in all sorts of different scenarios by the Canadian Space Agency. I got to do it twice, and on my second time through, I was selected with Jenny and got to join this group, which I still just feel really grateful and proud for. So a little bit maybe about my mission. I'm preparing to go here for probably 6 to 8 months. This, of course, is the International Space Station. And my job aboard the space station is going to be to do two main things. The first is to run the space station. And that's not a small task. This station is immensely complex, probably the most complicated thing that humans have ever built. It takes a long time to learn how to drive it, if you will, and fix it. We have to be able to fix anything that goes wrong there. Of course, we can't get help. We can't go back to Earth. We have to be very self-sufficient. So that's the first job, is to operate the place. And the reason really that we do that job is so that we can do job number 2 as a long duration astronaut. And job number 2 is the important job. It's the reason why we have the space station. Job number 2 is to do the science. Space station, we built it with international partners because we needed it as a laboratory. It's a floating lab, and it's a place where we can do science that we can't do anywhere else on planet Earth. So that's why we have it, and that's what my role will be while I'm there. Science and operations on board. This is the patch that the Canadian Space Agency has for this mission. So the mission that I'm preparing for, it'll be the next Canadian mission to low Earth orbit, the next long duration Canadian mission, if you will. It'll be actually only the 4th time that Canada has done this, which has sent an astronaut into space for that kind of a very long-term mission. Of course, it has my name on it. I'm the very, very fortunate one who gets to do it, but it should go without saying, there's thousands of people from across Canada in universities, in industry, in business, at the space agency, and the military, who've gone into and will continue to go into making a mission like this happen. You see on the patch some things that are important to us: the space station, where we're going, the moon, because that's where Canada's space exploration program is going next, and you see the maple flag. In terms of the Canadian space program, it is really for Canada. That's why we do it. We do it because of the benefits, technological, economical benefits that the program brings to our country. And we also get to do it because of Canada. We get to participate in these missions because of Canadian engineers and scientists, innovators, and what we build in this country. That's why NASA invites us to participate. So important to remember. I'm going to show you a couple pictures from the space station here. This is a robot that's called Dexter, and it's basically about the size of a minivan here on Earth. It operates a little bit like your human hand. It's got several digits. It's built by Canada. It's very complex. At the time, it was the only robot in the world that could do this stuff. It's highly automated, and it's always working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's moving itself, crawling around space station, actually changing out computers and swapping out broken equipment, keeping space station working. And that's what Canada does. We're in a position where we're really critical to the daily operations of the space station because of some of the robotic technology that we contributed to the other international partners in order to keep this place flying. This is a picture from inside the station. Space station is a really complicated place. You want to think about it, it's probably about the size inside where the astronauts can live without a spacesuit. It would be about the size of a small house, but it doesn't look like a house because it's all tunnels and small corridors with wires running all over the place. Hundreds and hundreds of experiments going on at any given time right now as I'm talking to you. There's a lot of noise, fans. It's a high risk environment, of course. So it takes a lot of getting used to. In this photograph, David is doing medical research. And I mentioned that already. We use the space station as a laboratory. If you look at the medical part, we can do science there that actually isn't related to spaceflight, but it is related to a ton of different diseases and illnesses that so many people have here on Earth. We're able to investigate those sicknesses and look for cures, develop treatments on space station because of the microgravity environment. And we'll spend a lot of time doing that as astronauts. Another example slide just showing you some of the systems that we'll all be involved with studying in space. If you think about the environment on space station, it's microgravity and there's a lot of radiation. A couple other things, but those are the big things that are different from here on Earth. And because of that, it's not actually that good for me, for the human body. My body's going to age very quickly while I'm in space compared to here on Earth. I'm going to lose a lot of bone, a lot of muscle. My vision's going to change. And so we have to be aware of that, protect the astronaut, of course, as best we can. But at the same time, because some of those aging processes are so accelerated in space, it makes it a really good environment to study some of the systems that you see on this slide. And you see me doing some of that work in the photograph, and that's what I'll be doing in space. I'm going to show you a few pictures here from kind of examples of my day-to-day life in Houston. And what you should know is it takes a long time to train for a mission on the space station to get to the point where NASA wants to kind of give you the keys to the space station and tell you to go run this billion-dollar enterprise for them. It takes a lot of training, years. I'm a typical Canadian example. I was hired in 2017, moved to Houston. I did about 2.5 years of basic training. Then I did about 3-4 years of continued training while I was also working, fulfilling roles, technical roles at NASA. And then I'm nearing the end of this now. I did about 2.5-3 years of specific training for the actual mission that we're assigned to go fly. So lots of learning. You have to love learning to be an astronaut. It's all about the training. Environments like this, we spend a lot of time here. It's the Neutral Buoyancy Lab, ginormous swimming pool. There's an entire space station actually inside this pool, and we use water to simulate microgravity. Here's another photograph that is close to home for Canada. This is the Canadarm2 simulator as it exists in Houston. I spend hundreds of hours here practicing how to operate in space, Canadian robotic technology. If you look closely at this photograph, you can actually see in the sim, we're using Canadarm2, a giant 50-foot long Canadian robotic system. The astronaut is sort of upside down, flying, tumbling around the Earth inside a space station, moving at 28,000 kilometers an hour. And as we do that, we're maneuvering the arm through this careful choreography in order to reach out and grab the spaceship that you can see in that photo and pull it into the space station so that we can dock it and eventually get an astronaut inside of it to unpack it. It'll be full of food and oxygen and water and science experiments and other things that we need. It's a picture of me in a European lab learning how to do some of their science. The prime partners on space station include Europe. So all of Europe, along with the United States, Russia, Japan, and Canada. Those are the 5 partners that operate it. Another example of training, most of the spacecraft we use to fly away from Earth and to the space station, and then to come all the way back and end up landing in an ocean somewhere on planet Earth. And so we have to be well equipped and practiced in landing in oceans, surviving in oceans, getting rescued from oceans. And that's some of the stuff that you see me practicing here. A lot of the training is technical, but it isn't all technical. This is training. So kind of a neat photograph. It's taken about 200 meters underground. We're underneath the country of Slovenia in this photograph. I'm here with a crew of astronauts from around the world, and we were there living in that environment for about 3 weeks. We're kind of doing 2 main things, just like in space. So we're doing a lot of science experiments, biology experiments for different universities in this weird environment. And we're also doing operations. So we're surveying the cave system. But really, fundamentally to NASA, what we're doing here is we're doing something we call a space analog mission. So we're forcing ourselves to live and work and thrive, cooperate in an environment that's really high risk and high consequence. It's dangerous here. We're worried about flooding and river levels and oxygen and getting lost, and the darkness, of course. We're forcing ourselves to go into this environment because it's a place where we can't make a mistake. We have to do complicated science, but it's just a really dangerous, difficult environment. So space analogs are part of our job. We'll do these underground. We'll also do them underwater on ocean floors, for example. This is a space analog. This is the NASA T-38 jet, which I'm lucky to fly still. And this is kind of a training space analog that we have access to daily in Houston. We can put 2 people in this airplane. It's an old, pretty fast, supersonic little jet that will fly. So we use flight training. It's a part of NASA crew training and selection. But again, from a training point of view, it's important to us because it's an environment we can use daily that forces us to manage risk and work with other people in complicated environments. You know, of course, very little of an astronaut's entire career is actually spent in space. Most of it is spent in, for example, what you see in this photograph. So we'll do a host of technical or engineering kind of jobs at NASA that are completed by astronauts. And there's tons of examples of that. This is one that I've spent a lot of time doing, which is working for mission control in Houston, helping to control different missions, different rockets flying to and from the space station. I've done a lot of work with some of the SpaceX vehicles and Boeing Starliner as well during its initial testing and certification efforts. So pretty neat to be able to participate in this. If you've ever seen the mission or the movie rather, Apollo 13, this is that same room, same building. It's of course much more modern now, but this all exists. It's a place in Houston where we control space operations all across low Earth orbit and beyond, and pretty neat spot. Spend a lot of time here working out. I mentioned that space is hard for the body. A big part of how we mitigate that is by spending a lot of time in the gym. When I'm in space, I'll actually be doing stuff like this, working out for 2 to 3 hours every single day, just to try to limit that amount of bone loss, muscle loss, and degradation. Spent a lot of time telling the story, and that's part of what we're doing this morning. You know, the only thing I'd want to leave you with here is that Canada is special. You won't find another country in the world of our small size where we have a space program, where we have a human space program like we do in Canada. It's something really special. It's brought a lot of benefit to Canada. And it's something that's really important if you're a young person, as I was, who's grown up and interested in space or science and technology, because in Canada, we have a ton of opportunity. We need a lot of people actually right now, more than ever, to go into some of these roles, engineers, scientists, astronauts who are going to work with our Canadian space technology and bring it forward to the next level. Our next step is to go here. So we've been working in low Earth orbit for a while, but we're about to start missions back to the moon. And I got a picture of it on the next slide. But in terms of our strategy, we're trying to go to the moon next, and then ultimately all the way to Mars. That's NASA's ultimate goal. And I think it's something that could even possibly happen in this lifetime. First person to walk on Mars might be alive today. They're not me. They're a lot younger than me, but it could happen. We mentioned this moon mission. So this is the Artemis 2 crew. And, you know, these guys will be the first to go back to the moon since Apollo. They're launching next year. They're going to go farther and faster than anyone in history. But the important thing that you should take away from this is that from the entire world, the one country that NASA invited to participate in this mission is Canada. And you can see Jeremy there. That's not a coincidence. It's the result of the scientific engineering work that we do in this country. That's why we're invited. I think that in the next year or 2, 5 for sure, you're going to see everything that you see in this little drawing. You're going to see greenhouses. We're going to be working with growing food on the moon, generating power on the moon, doing science on the moon. Everything you see in this photo is an area of research and development that's going on at the Canadian Space Agency and other space agencies around the world right now. These are my last two slides, pictures of the best country in the world, Canada from space. You can see Vancouver Island here. And I just like to make the point at the end that I talk a lot about astronaut work, human missions, that's what I do, but we do a ton of other work at the Canadian Space Agency. And we have a ton of stuff in this space. You can't see it, it's invisible to us. But when we look at the number of satellites, the number of Canadian satellites that we have in space looking back on Earth, they're really important. They're critical to our day-to-day lives. They're also critical to helping us solve problems. Here's another example, another picture of our country. And, you know, this is something that just has to be pointed out. My perspective from being part of all this awesome adventure in the last 7 years has been that the solutions to some of our biggest problems here on Earth, like climate change and water resource management, disease, how to collaborate instead of keep fighting wars. The solutions to some of these biggest problems are going to come from what we're doing now and from what people like you are going to go on to do in space with our space program. And that's why it's important. It's important to the world, and it sure happens to be important to this country, the awesome country of Canada, the true, the strong, and the free, the country that I grew up in and just so proud to be from and serving still today as an adult. So with that, I will turn the screen back over to you. And please, we've got a bunch of time left here, so very happy to answer any of your questions.
All right. Good stuff, Joshua. Thanks for that great presentation. Not only giving us a little bit of your story and the training for your upcoming mission, but also, you know, where Canada is going next. It is a really exciting time, and we've made such amazing contributions to space exploration over the decades. And I think the future is pretty bright as well. Okay, well, we're going to get into some Q&A action shortly, but before that, I prepared a quick little Kahoot quiz backstage, and we're going to have a little interaction and see how our students do. If you would like to join us today and play some Kahoot, you need to head to kahoot.it. It's going to ask you for a PIN number. Today's PIN is 152 1716 You could join that way. If you're not able to do that, your teacher could pop this up at the front of the room. You could shout out your answers to him or her. If you are joining from home, you can scan that QR code with a phone or a tablet. It'll bring you right in. And if you can't join with technology, don't worry about it at all. Play along and see how you do. While we're waiting, Joshua, I'll grab a couple questions here from the chat. Let's see who's saying hi already. We've got Miss Sampson's crew in Yellowknife saying hi. We've got third graders in Medicine Hat. We've got 5th and 6th graders in Kitchener, Ontario saying hi. So don't be shy. Use that chat sidebar. First question here is from our grade 5/6s. And so they're very proud of Canada's development of the Canada Arm. And they're wondering, this is Brian, he wants to know if there's other projects like rovers that Canada's working on.
Yeah, great question. Hello to you guys in 5/6. The answer to that is all the above. Yes, so we did do Canadarm 2. It sounds like you know a little bit about that, which is awesome. Canada right now is also starting to build something called Canadarm 3. Canadarm 3 is a next generation robot. It uses AI, and what it's going to do is help NASA and other countries to assemble a space station and other things in orbit around the moon. So this is active work going on right now at the Space Agency. You mentioned rovers. We're actually building a couple of them. We're building lunar rovers right now. And yeah, we're really looking forward to seeing Canadian rovers with Canadian flags on them driving around the surface of the moon during some of these upcoming human missions. And this is stuff we expect to have happen in the next not too distant future, 3, 4, 5 years from now. So really exciting. We're building all of it.
All right, very cool. Mr. Hugh Miller's class is hanging out with us, and they're wondering, you showed us that picture of, you know, greenhouses and possible buildings on the moon in the future. So his class is wondering if things like that are in development, templates or models being built right now.
Yeah, they are. We actually have We have models, we have science experiments, we have stations that have actually been up in the Canadian Arctic doing trial experiments with some of this for food production and for this very idea of generating food in greenhouses, on other bodies, on the moon, on Mars, growing food in lunar regolith. Yes, these are active areas of research where we have Canadian scientists, engineers working on this stuff at the Space Agency right now, even as I'm talking to you.
All right. Well, it looks like things have slowed down a little bit on the Kahoot side of things. So I am going to start our Kahoot because we want to turn our attention full on to Q&A. So it will be about a 3-second countdown to get us in here. We've got some true and false, some multiple choice. The quicker you put the correct answers in, the more points you're going to get. We'll check out our podium and then back to Q&A. So where did Joshua grow up? This should be a nice warm-up question. Was it Saskatchewan, Alberta, Quebec, or the Northwest Territories? So where did Joshua grow up? We've got 4 nice Canadian examples there. Was it Saskatchewan, Alberta, Quebec, or the Northwest Territories? Those answers are coming in pretty fast. We've got a little clue decoding there that might help anybody who might be on the fence. All right. Good job, crew. Most went with Alberta. Joshua, I'm a prairie boy as well, although I'm a little more partial to Saskatchewan myself, but Alberta's nice too. It's not too bad.
Where did you grow up?
I was in Moosomin, so a little small town near the border. Yeah. All right. Let's go to our next question here. The Mystery Sphinx is holding down that top spot. We've got some true or false coming your way next. Joshua's first mission will take him on a trip around the moon. Is that true or is that false? Joshua's first mission will take him on a trip around the moon. We definitely have some Canadian action coming up around the moon, but will that be Joshua's first mission? Oh, a bit of a split, but it is false. Joshua's first mission to the International Space Station. And I imagine with most space missions, there's probably no set date yet. Still probably things being juggled and figuring things out.
Yeah, in the not too distant future. So we're thinking next year. Yeah.
All right, very cool. Power Gecko powering his way to first place, or his or her way to first place. True or false? It takes thousands of people across Canada to make our space contributions possible. So true or false? It takes thousands across the country to make our space contributions possible. All right, those answers are flying in, over 100 already. A few more seconds on the clock. All right, that's what I like to see. Absolutely true. It's a big group working across the country, from universities to factories, all kinds of important things and work going on. Final question coming your way. The Kind Orcs is taking that top spot. And we've got a multi-select. So you have to pick a couple things. Choose 2 things that will have negative impacts on Joshua's body on the International Space Station. So you've got microgravity, food, radiation, or oxygen. So 2 things that will have negative impacts on Joshua's body on the International Space Station. Remember, you want to pick 2 here. I've given a little extra time on the clock, but 2 will get you the right answer and full points. All right, good stuff. Microgravity and radiation. Let's go to our podium. In third place, we've got a nice Rapace Argentine, the Swift Panther, and oh, there we go. Prairie Action, the Prairie Ibex sneaking in at the end and taking the lead. Very cool. Okay, let's come back from that screen share. Turn off that music, and let's bring in some backstage classrooms. So where should we go first? We've got the Sky Space Club hanging out with us. I believe they're in Winnipeg, Manitoba. How are we doing, Sky Space Club?
Hello, we're doing great, thank you. We're kind of on location too. Our school can't have classes today because of the bad air quality, so we're kind of at home on location today. So.
All right. Well, I love to see the telescope in the background. Let's snag a question.
You have a question, Lisa?
Yeah. Who did you admire when you were little that made you want to go to space?
Hey guys, I admired a lot of people, and just real quickly, I have to echo Joe's comment. What an awesome Canadian background! Snowshoes and a telescope in Winnipeg. I love it. I had a lot of role models growing up, and this might be a good time to mention a real important one. Actually, it's a little bit sad because he passed away a few days ago. But Marc Garneau. Marc Garneau was the first Canadian astronaut to fly a mission. This is about 40 years ago. But I was a young kid. I was in kindergarten when Marc Garneau was still very much a part of the Canadian space sector. He was going on to fly other missions, and I really admired the bold vision that he had for himself, but also for the Canadian space program. So an important role model to me.
All right. Thanks, Sky Space Club. We'll see if we can come back your way in a little bit. Okay, let's see. Where should we go next? We have a big group of grade 6s hanging out in Montreal, Quebec with us. So I think I will grab them next. Hey, grade 6, how we doing today? This is definitely a grade where they study space. So I'm glad we have them hanging out with us here today.
3.
There they are.
Sorry, we're grade 3.
Oh, okay. Sneaky, but still happy to have you here. Hey, grade 3s.
Okay. Lève la main si vous avez une question. No. What's your question?
I might need someone to repeat it. We're having trouble hearing it from here, but
I think they're going to come
Why
up.
do you like space?
Oh, why do I like space? Well, the first reason is that my whole life, even when I was in grade 3, I loved science, and space is where we're doing the coolest, most exciting, newest science, and where we're making the newest discoveries. So that's why I've liked it. A little bit more complicated now as an astronaut. I also like space because, as I said in the slides, it's where we're making the discoveries that are most important for us, for Canada, for the world, and for our future prosperity. That's how we're going to solve the big problems. So that's why I like it now.
All right, I see a few more hands, so let's stick around for one more. Is there one more that we can grab?
You want to say it loud?
Why do we have to fly to Mars?
I heard.
Why do we have to fly to Mars?
Why do we have to fly to Mars?
Oh, because we got to go see what's there, don't you think? I mean, how do we know that there's not life somewhere else, maybe on Mars, if we don't go there and look? I mean, that's part of the reason. A big part of the reason we have to go to Mars is because we want to develop all of that technology and science that is going to be needed to take us to Mars. It's not just going to help us with Mars. We know that all of that discovery is going to help make things better here on Earth. So we've got to go out and do the hard things. And the next really hard thing for humanity is to go to another planet.
All right. Thanks, third graders. Those are some awesome questions. Very cool. Thanks, guys. Okay, we've got Madame Corinne's class hanging out with us. They are in Quebec. There's some 5th graders. Let's get them in here. Hey, 5th graders, how we doing?
There's about 40 students in grade 5 here. We're a school in Quebec, Pierrefonds. We are a STEAM school, science, technology, engineering. We have a poster of you in the school because we had the projects presented to parents. They want to show you.
Wow. Thank you, guys. I can feel the energy from here. Thank you.
Yeah, it's quite hot in the class also. It's quite hot in Montreal right now. And we have posters also from the members of your crew, including David Saint-Jacques and all the other members.
Awesome.
We have a question. We are a French immersion school, and the student beside me just wrote a question in French. Vous parlez français un peu, Joshua?
Oui.
Do you speak French?
Oui.
Good. Okay, so Eliana's gonna ask you a question. Come on, let's see.
Comment vous vous sentez quand vous avez accepté pour le CSA?
Pour l'Agence spatiale canadienne?
Oui. Comment vous êtes?
Quand je suis devenu astronaute, ça veut dire quand j'ai été sélectionné, recruté par l'Agence spatiale canadienne, je me souviens que j'étais, peut-être toujours, j'étais tellement enthousiaste, bien sûr, parce que c'était toujours mon but personnel. Mais plus que ça, j'étais vraiment fier aussi, fier d'être astronaute, même aujourd'hui. Mais plus spécifiquement fier d'être astronaute, comme je dirais, astronaute canadien. C'est une chose bien importante pour moi.
Good. Merci. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, Madame Therese. If you want to get another question ready, I'll come visit before you wrap up. Okay, where do we have to go next? Let's grab one from YouTube. Then I'm going to go to our group, our Coaldale Prairie crew. So one more from YouTube here. Let's see. There we go. Jackson. Jackson wants to know what the fastest aircraft you've ever flown. How fast was it?
The fastest I've ever gone in an airplane was in a F-15, C model F-15, and just a touch over Mach 2. Yeah. Okay.
Very, very cool. That's pretty darn fast. We've got some 9th graders in Coaldale, Alberta. Looks like over 100 of them. So it's a big crew hanging out. Let's see if I can get them into the chat. Coaldale, if you want to unmute your mic, we'd love to hear from you. There they are. Hey, Coaldale.
Oh, no.
There's a big group. It sounds like you're in a gym.
That one, the camera should go on. This one? Yeah. Oh, maybe it's not.
I don't know if the camera will work.
Doesn't look like it's cooperating. You don't have anything like a sticky paper over it or anything, do you? No?
Good effort.
That's okay. We hear ya. We can still take a question or two.
We texted our question in the chat. Someone wanted to know if the astronauts could watch the Oilers in space.
Yeah, this astronaut's going to want to watch the Oilers in space. This one's going to be watching them tonight too. The technical answer to your question is yes. Right now, actually, on the space station, it's possible to get internet there. So it's a little complicated. It's based on all these satellites going really fast. It's really expensive, but it is possible to have internet just like you and I have it right now. And that's what we use to communicate with others. We can make phone calls. We can check email. We can watch TV to a certain extent. So yes, it is technically possible.
All right. Thanks, Coaldale. We need to go. It looks like we have a second class from UTT joining us from Quebec. I just saw them turn their camera on. So if you want to turn your camera back on, yeah, there we go. We'd love to get a question from your crew. Hey, everyone. Let's unmute that mic. We can't hear you. We want to hear those cheers.
Wow.
There they are. They're excited, but the mic is still muted. Here we go. Now it's getting serious. There we go. Let's hear those cheers. Hey, everybody. That's better. All right. Who's got a question for us?
Yes. Lève-toi. Viens par ici.
Do you think Apollo 13 might happen again? Like some situations?
Yeah, great question. No one's asked me that before, actually. I do, unfortunately. Space flight is really hard still. It's very complicated. Millions of things have to go just right. And we try as best we can to prepare and train and test the systems over years and years and years. But still, at the end of the day, sometimes things can go wrong. And that's my job, is to be ready for that. So I do think, yeah, things are things are going to go wrong sometime in the future. Yes, that's the challenge of this whole business.
Thank you.
All right. You got one more handy for us there?
Yeah, wait, yeah.
Why do you need to send humans to Mars if you already have sent robots?
That's also a really good question. Smart question. Robots, robots are great. We send robots to these places before humans go to make sure it's safe and to make sure if something bad happens, it happens to the robot first. But robots actually have a lot of limitations. If you think about it, we can put really advanced sensors on robots, but they're only able to look at a very small part of the planet. A good way for thinking about this is take a straw or a set of binoculars. If you put a piece of binoculars on your head, that's like a robot. That's what a robot sees. So we see through these straws and we see whatever the robot's looking at. But just think of the planet Earth and how big Earth is. We might have, say, 4 or 5 robots working on Earth. If we had that right now, we'd only be seeing a very, very, very small part of the Earth. We need humans to go there because humans can cover so much more area. We can look around, we can appreciate things, we can smell it, we can feel the air, we can sense things for the human experience. And so the real reason is that to fully learn about Mars and explore it, we're going to have to send humans back to the robots.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, gang. Those were some awesome questions. Very cool. All right. Awesome stuff. Let's visit YouTube one more time, and then we'll check in with some camera crews. Okay, so we have our group in Medicine Hat hanging out with us. They've got 2 questions here. They want to know the town you grew up in Alberta, and then will you be able to see shooting stars while you're in space?
So I grew up not actually in a town. I was on a farm, but the closest town is Two Hills, Alberta, about 100 miles straight east of Edmonton, cattle farming place. And shooting stars, yeah, you can see almost anything you can see from Earth on a night summer sky, for example, you can see from the space station in space. The difference is you can see a lot more and you can see it much more brightly. So some of the best, most scenic, amazing photographs that we have of stars, of shooting stars, of other planets actually have come from the space station. And also that's also part of the reason why we put our biggest telescopes into space, because from space we can see so much more than we can from Earth, including, yes, shooting stars.
All right, very cool. I promised Madame Corrine we'd come back for a follow-up question.
Any? Kaden? Do you have a question?
Okay, that was a surprise.
Yep. One of my students coming right now.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks. You gonna take my chair?
Do you want to live on the moon?
Live on the moon?
Yeah, do you want to live on the moon?
I would want to live on the moon. I've always been passionate about exploring. And so even as a kid and as a young adult, I wanted to live in many different places. And I did a lot of that, as many different places as I could for the experience. So if there was a way for me to live on the moon now, yes, I think that would be deeply satisfying. And I'd love to do it.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks. And thanks to both our grade 5 classrooms for hanging out, cramming in that hot room in Montreal. We appreciate it. All right. Hopefully you can get outside soon. Very cool. Thanks so much.
Thanks.
Our classroom in the Northwest Territories, Joshua, they're wondering about the food that would grow on the moon. Has there been experiments already to show that we can grow food in space and eat that food?
Yeah, there's been lots of experiments. Actually, on the International Space Station right now, we have experiments where we're growing food in microgravity. And yeah, sometimes we're including taste tests, meaning that the astronauts are eating it. It's very challenging to grow plants without gravity, but we are learning how to do it. Specifically right now on Space Station, we're growing vegetables, we're growing lettuce. And that's something that's really important to us because, of course, we're trying to grow food that, we can grow in places like microgravity and places like the moon, but we're also trying to grow food that is really healthy and nutritious and good for the people who are going to be consuming it. So right now we're working on lettuce. We're having some success. And I think you're going to see soon experiments that are growing all kinds of things in space. Yes.
All right. Well, I mean, your second mission could see you on the moon and tending some of those crops, some of those skills living out on the farm might come to bear in the future. Very, very cool. Sky Space Club, I see you have a second question. It's food related too.
Hi, yeah, it was from our other student, Eloise, had a question. She wanted to know, what foods can you eat in space that would actually taste good?
We have a lot of food available, but it's all a little bit different because it has to last a really long time. So it tends to have to be processed. It has to be pretty lightweight because launching stuff on rockets is really expensive. So we have good food. You know, we even have like things like ice cream and peanut butter and stuff that you'd have here. But all of the food tastes a little bit different because it has to be so packaged. So most of it, the majority, I would say, actually comes in a bag, a sealed bag, and we simply add water to it. And then it's almost more of a drinking experience where you're sipping the food through a straw and out of the bag. It's hard for us to open up food packages because crumbs, for example, will just float everywhere, disappear. They'll get into the science and the computer systems and cause all kinds of problems. So we have good tasting food, but it doesn't taste as good on Earth because it's just not the same. You're drinking out of a bag instead of savoring something with a fork and spoon.
All right. Thanks, guys. Space Club. Great questions. I want to check in. Last question. We'll give it to Coaldale Prairie because they had a second question that they sent to me, which is an important one that we need to think about. We think about it on Earth. We're going to have to think about it in space. So Coaldale, do you want me to read that or do you want to unmute and ask that second question?
We'll let you just read it because we got too much background noise here.
All right. It is echoey in the where you're hanging out, but so glad to have your big group of students hanging out with us today. Okay, so mental health. Is that something you're preparing for, the mental health effects of being in space for potentially a long time?
Yeah, astronauts do train and prepare specifically for the mental health challenges of being in space, and they're big challenges, actually. You know, it's always difficult to leave friends and loved ones, you know, to leave them behind. It's really difficult to do that when you're leaving the planet. Space is a very isolated environment. There's a lot of risks, so there's a lot of stress. It's kind of hard to relax, and you just end up missing the planet. So this is a challenge. It's something that NASA is worried about. We take training on how to stay mentally healthy, and we practice it, which is probably the more important part. Showed you a picture from the caving expedition, but we do other things like that, where we go into these sort of isolated environments in order to practice staying mentally healthy, in addition to all the technical work and the physical aspects. The mental bit is a very important thing, and it's going to be even more important, I would say, when we start looking at the moon missions and eventually Mars.
All right. Well, Joshua, I want to start off with a shout out to you and the team at the Canadian Space Agency for making this possible today. We love these hangouts and getting a chance to ask some questions and learn about projects coming down the pipeline, and pretty exciting next year. Could be a pretty big fulfillment of all the work that you've done, the training, the studying, the education. Yeah, huge fulfillment of a dream, hopefully coming your way. And I think what I'll do as well is this might get me in trouble with some of the classrooms, but I'm going to do it anyways. If you want to get nice and loud, let's see what we can do here. Let's open up some microphones. So great to see you. I'm sure there's other classrooms wondering what's going on. Joshua, thank you so much. What a pleasure to hang out today.
It's a pleasure for me to do this. Thank you for the invitation. And to all you students, good luck. Have fun. School year is almost over. Enjoy the summer. Bye-bye.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Signing off for today.
Well done.
All right.